Nathanial actually just won the best marketer on LinkedIn for the APAC region,
Our next guest
which is
an entrepreneur
crazy
that has been disrupting the lead generation industry through the world's
Nathanial
largest
Bibby is an entrepreneur disrupting the way businesses generate leads online.
Joined by marketing consultant Nathanial Bibby of Bibby Consulting Group. Nathanial actually just won the best marketer on LinkedIn for the APAC.
Social media marketing award last.
What's happening, dudes? Monday Night Live, here we are. We're at 4 p.m. in Perth time, 6 p.m. for you guys in Sydney and Melbourne for a change. Drop in the comments, say hello. I've been doing a bit of traveling. It's good to be back in my home setup. You may have noticed a different intro song this week. So that's thanks to all of the YouTube copyright infringement messages I've been getting. So hopefully this one goes all right. I know there is a bit of a delay, but drop in the comments, say hello. Let me know which city you're tuning in from. I know we had to reschedule this once, but definitely worthwhile. The guest that I've got today is here to talk about a very important topic. So sales has become somewhat of a dirty word. A lot of people shy away from sales altogether and sales training specifically because there's this whole stigma around, the sleazy salesperson, somebody who's trying to convince you to do something that you don't necessarily want to do, which is very unfortunate because one of the best ways to serve your customers to the best of your ability is to learn about sales. And another word could be for it, to advise people on how to buy, because we live in a world today where people hate being sold to, but they love to buy. And in B2B, like a lot of you are, if they've got a problem, they do want it solved. They just don't want someone to sell to them. And so who better to get on as a guest than my friend Ryan Tuckwood. Ryan raised some capital on Shark Tank, must have been 7 years ago, if my memory serves me correctly, which is unusual for a sales training company. His company is called Swish, selling with integrity and selling honestly. And he's built like this cult of business owners and salespeople that want to do business a different way. His events are getting thousands of people along to them now. He's got a really successful podcast. He was hanging out with Richard Branson a couple of months ago. He's had David Goggins as a speaker, Jeremy Mimer. He's interviewed Grant Cardone, would you believe it, and been over to see his offices and went to the 10X conference. So there's a lot we can learn from Ryan, and I'm going to bring him straight on now that I can see some comments coming through. How are you, mate?
Mate, a cult. It's a Swish cult, apparently. Mate, I'm very good. This has been a while between drinks, hasn't it?
It has, mate. It seems to be that way with, what's it been since COVID? 3 or 4 years or something?
It has to be. It has to be. I'd like to say that I've grown, but I'm still 5'8.5".
Still got the awesome hairstyle.
Still. I go a little bit higher now because the greys are creeping in. So that's what 10 years in business and 2 kids will do for you.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. And how's business going? I mean, from the outside looking in, it just seems like you guys are growing like great guns.
It's mate, and I'm sure many viewers and listeners will know that it's a roller coaster that for some reason we got on and then you can't get off. So it's good. It's very fulfilling. And what I mean by that is, and you referenced the Richard Branson nod, like a conversation I had with him last year changed the whole direction of the business. A conversation I had with one of Grant Cardone's guys, Jared, the VP there, changed the whole direction of the business. And I realized, and we might get into this, that the model was slightly wrong 9 years in. Remodeled it last April, and like great changes for not just for the results for our clients, but also the results for me, my team, and balance within my family and my kids as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, I'd love to hear all about that for sure. We have to get into that. For the guys that have come across you for the first time today, how did you first get into sales?
Like most, I think, kicking and screaming reluctantly. I'm an engineer by trade. I was an engineer for 8 years back in the UK. Moved over here in 2010 as a good old backpacker, good old fashioned backpacker. and found myself in a call center. My role initially was to do 300 cold calls a day and to qualify people for $15,000 to $25,000. And if you qualified for 15 to 25K liquid, I would put your name and email address into a tray in front of me. The receptionist would come around once an hour and take all of those leads and take it through to the illustrious room of closers next door, who would then try and sell you some stuff for $15,000 to $25,000 the next day. And that was really the start of it. And you know most of the story, and we can go there if you want. But I wasn't very good, shall we say?
Yeah. 300's a lot, man. I did 100 when I was in Hong Kong, 100 sales calls minimum a day. And I felt like I was just, you have to, pick up the phone before you know what you're dialing. And it's just, 300 is huge.
We weren't allowed to put the phone down. We also didn't have, it was a physical old school phone. It wasn't a headset. It was you lifted the handset. And it's only 2010, 11. It's not like you're in the 1980s. And we got given 100 leads in the morning, 100 at midday, and then 100 in the afternoon. And if you went through them, you'd cycle back round again. And I worked out, I've done 330,000 cold calls in my time. And you figure out a few ways to not get punched in the face when you're making those calls.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just a great place to start, as a salesperson. Do you guys still do the cold calls?
I'm really interested in you ask this. Yes, two parts. So my normal team, for want of a better phrase, they're still tasked with doing it on a general basis. So we believe in the five a day strategy. So 5 leads a day, 25 a week, 100 a month, 1,200 a year. So can you let 1,200 businesses or individuals know that we exist every single year? So even with amongst all the inbound leads, I want them to keep their sword sharp. But we've got a tour coming up in June where we're doing Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and I've got a dedicated cold calling team right now generating leads, and we've done nearly 300 tickets in 5. This is day 5 of the cold calling. So it works. Brilliant. And people say cold calling doesn't work. I'm like, professional cold calling does work. So yes. Yeah,
absolutely. That's awesome. Okay, looks like some of the comments are coming through. Hi, Storm. Nice to see you here again. And we've got Daniel from the sunny coast who's dropped in the comments. If you're just joining us, guys, make sure you do drop in the comments and say hello. One of the benefits of doing this live is you get the opportunity to ask questions. I'm sure Ryan is very expensive when he's coaching via the hour. So take advantage of it while you can and jump in and ask your questions. So that's fantastic. Wow, 300 tickets. Hey, are these guys that work with you already, or is it like did you get external contractors, give them a 2-day boot camp, and then off they go?
So no, these are guys that we've just brought on as for the project itself. So they are people that have been in our ecosystem. They've either crewed at our events, and they've done our training already. So they've already had insights into the Swish way, and I didn't want to put anybody completely cold on the phones and misrepresenting us. So no, they're 4 people, 1 state apiece, and they're doing 4 hours of cold calling a day.
Yep. Beautiful. And I guess one of the biggest things that they would probably come up against, and I don't know, I'm asking a question, one of the objections or things that they would have to overcome quite quickly on those cold calls is this stigma that I was just talking about, where people are trying to work out if you're trying to gain something from them or add value, whether you're a sleazy salesperson or not. How do you overcome that quickly on something like a cold call?
Yeah, I think if you've been through our training, you'll know that we have a set of principles that we adhere to. So I'm not a big fan of creating robots. I'm a big fan of creating frameworks and principles. And the overarching principle that sits above the whole Swish sales methodology is that all behaviors are state dependent. So everybody will do or not do something based on how they feel at that moment in time. So you're right. When we receive a cold call, instantly our sales defenses are a little bit higher. I mean, if you meet me in person or you come to our event in Perth or wherever it is, and I'm dressed like this and I'm an English sales trainer from the Gold Coast, sales defenses go high very, very fast. So that principle of all behaviors are state dependent is really, really important. So we basically premeditate what they might be thinking. 330,000 cold calls. What are the most common questions you're going to get asked? Who are you? Where are you calling from? What do you want? How did you get my number? So when we're entering the conversation, we're trying to premeditate as many of those as possible. So it could be as simple as, John, Ryan, Swish Sales Coaching, how you been? Good, thanks, mate. Yourself? Yeah, I'm great. Thanks so much for asking. Now, how annoyed would you get if I told you this was a cold call to invite you to a free event that we're running in June in Perth? Like, straight away, right? They know it's a cold call. They know what it's about. I've taken away 2 pieces of real estate in their head, which is the conversation they're having internally. So if you can speak prospect before they speak their own language, then you control the conversation.
Yeah, I love that. Brilliant. And what do you see is the biggest mistake that sales professionals are making in 2025?
It's not even just 2025. This has been going on since I've been in the industry 15 years. It still happens all around the globe. It's really interesting. I thought there'd be like real slight nuances, and there is to an extent, depending on the industry or the sales cycle. But there's one overarching mistake that every industry makes, and it's assuming the sale or having an orientation towards the sale. So what we try to teach people to do, and it's easier said than done, is actually disconnect. I just did a post on Instagram about this actually. Genuinely disconnecting from the sale. Now, I didn't get this until a specific moment in time, and you know this story, but I was 21st out of 21 people on a sales floor when I first fell into the world of sales. So I was the worst one for 3 months straight. And it got to the stage where I decided to quit. I was sleeping on my friend's bathroom floor. I had 31 cents to my name. And that was enough for me. Like, I'm getting punched in the face hundreds of times a day, metaphorically. And that day that I quit really taught me the lesson about disconnecting. And it's a bit convoluted, but I'll explain how. I pulled my old sales manager aside, Jack, and said to him, mate, sales is not for me. Like, I'm not somebody that is an extrovert. I know I dress the way I do, and I know I speak on big stages these days, but that is curated. I've learned to do that. I've invested $600,000 into personal development and mentoring. This is not a natural arena for me. And I said to him,
$600,000, guys. Just exclamation mark.
That's in 10 years. I mean, no, not even 10 years. That's a bit longer than that. It's about 13 years. But before I got here, up to the age of 27, I'd never invested anything. I just wasn't in that world. And as I got to what I call my crisis point, and I said to Jack, mate, I'm done, he challenged me. And he said, I want you to fanatically obsess over the art and craft of sales for the next 60 days. And if you don't go from 21st to 1st, I'll pay for you to leave this country. I was with my ex-wife now, Alicia. I'll pay for you and Alicia to go back to the UK or over to New Zealand, wherever, because she was Kiwi. But leave here knowing you gave this a really good go. And why that was important was at that point, now, like I disconnected because I didn't care. And I mean, I actually did not care about making sales because this guy's going to pay for my flights. And what happened was I had 300 calls to make a day. And my old boss, the owner, Shane, actually said to me, Ryan, you've got 300 opportunities a day to learn something on every single call that you can either leverage back onto the next call or take into your everyday life. So I'm like, I'm now getting paid. I only got paid $400 a week, by the way. I'm getting paid $400 a week to learn from 300 humans a day. And in 60 days, this guy's going to pay for my flights. So I actually stopped caring about the sale because it didn't matter. And I started actually trying to have a conversation with a human being. And over the next 5 weeks, not 60 days, I went from 21st to 1st and world changed completely. So disconnecting is the most important skill.
Yeah, I can relate to that. When I was working in sales, I used to copy everything my boss was doing. He was closing some really high deals, but he was more like a quiet sort of. Everything was like scripted and systemized, and I ended up just sounding like this robot. And I remember my sales started to slow down. I wasn't the top sales guy anymore. And we went out for dinner. I thought he was going to fire me. And he said, He said, you just got to start being yourself again, mate. Like, you know, I'm the sort of guy that will walk in and crack a joke about, you know, having too many beers the night before, and that just being myself and being a bit more less prim and proper. And if I want to dress a bit differently, do that. And that was all the shift I needed. And it was really insightful of him to notice that. But people have different styles of communicating and building relationships, and they need to lean into that, I think.
I think that's it's a really important thing to pick up, right? Because people say, I just want to be myself, right? I don't want to be something that I'm not. And one of my previous mentors has said to me, well, what if you don't even know how good you are just yet? What, like, I'm trying to be what's comfortable. I'm not being myself. I'm trying to be what's comfortable to me right now. And there was a better version of me that I couldn't even see, but he could. And I think this is really important because a lot of people resist, you said it in your intro, a lot of people resist sales training. They don't want to be seen as salesy, but by virtue of resisting the training, they come across as salesy. So the less training you have, the more salesy you sound, because we do things and we say things that accidentally raise people's sales defenses, like asking people for their budget. We know there's a study out there by Gong that shows that if you ask somebody for their budget, it reduces the chances of making a sale by 32%. But we don't get taught this. Yeah, it's a thing, right? So following, touching base, circling back around, like all of these words impact the value that is heard by the other person. Because if I now see you as a salesperson because you use salespeople's words, you've now gone down the trust ladder. So we know that we've got to go from salesperson to consultant to advisor to trusted advisor, and you could get to trusted advisor status by going, "Yeah, how was the game last night? Yeah, had a beer," and you're there, and then you go, "So what's your budget?" And then you've just gone all the way back down to salesperson. So then they go, "Well, you're a salesperson. I'll play consumer," and when I play consumer, I go, "Let me think about it. Leave it with me. Can you do a discount?" And we start to play the role that we're conformed to do. So we have to be very careful with language.
Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things I always tell my clients, and this is mainly to do with B2B sales, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, but I say to them that when you're approaching people on LinkedIn and you're having conversations with somebody that doesn't have a need established yet, I say there's two criteria you've got to meet before you can start selling to them. One is they've told you that they have the problem that you solve, or they have some sort of need. And two, they've given you permission to share your solution, right? So it forces them to ask questions to find out if they actually have, because otherwise what's going to happen is you've seen them in your LinkedIn inbox. You're just like, you should really talk to us. We're the best SEO company in Australia. We've won all these awards, blah, 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 blah. And no one gives a shit. No one's asked for the information. What are your thoughts on that?
So yes, firstly, I get absolutely ambushed. Even on, I got a really cool one the other day, actually, from a 16-year-old kid on LinkedIn. I don't know if kid's the right phrase, but and he sent me a video, and he went onto my Instagram and he made some edits, and he did it really well to an extent until he didn't understand who my target market was. So now I'm going to help him and support him, and usually we get to train and turn that around. But I think you're right. So I'm a big fan of permission-based selling versus interruption-based selling. And I think a lot of people do the interruption-based selling where they just show up and throw up. So there's something called persuasion. By Robert Cialdini coined that phrase. If you've read Persuasion by Robert Cialdini.
I know the author. I don't know if I've read that one.
Yeah, he's also the guy that wrote Influence. So you might have read Influence, which is his more famous book. But persuasion is basically the words you use before the words you use can impact the value heard in those words. So the words you use before the words you use can impact the value in those words. So I can use little setup phrases that lower your sales defenses. So if we come back to that overarching principle, all behaviors are state dependent. My job is to constantly keep your sales defenses down before I raise buyer's acceptance. So even, and there's a guy called Phil M. Jones. He does some great content on words matter. And one of his little phrases is, "This is probably not for you, but." you probably won't be interested in this, but, and that's just persuasion. It's the words before whatever the words are going to be. And what it does for us as human beings, hearing those words, it's like, you don't tell me what's for me. Like, I'll be the judge of that. And we lean into it. And there's a really important lesson in there is, and I get asked this all the time, what's the best sales book you've ever read? And I'm like, don't read sales books. Understand human beings. If you learn how humans work, that there's we're quite predictable. There's a fascinating rule called Cunningham's Law. Have you heard of Cunningham's Law?
No.
Know how that works? So
no.
We are wired as human beings to want to correct each other. Right? We want to be seen as right. So I can intentionally give you the wrong information to get the right information. So I use this. I'll share with you.
This should be a marriage advice podcast.
I'm just going through my divorce right now, 2 years in, so don't book me for that one. I'll tap out there. But I can. So 2 parts. Imagine you're speaking to another sales training company. If I was to say to you, so who else are you speaking to? What sort of quotes have you had? Like that's a defense raiser, because it's an obvious question. You don't want to tell me that because you can see that I'm going to do a comparison. So you go, hey, well, no, you shoot me your information and I'll make a decision. So you say to me, oh, well, Ryan, we're just looking at 2 or 3 other companies. I'm like, fantastic. You should be. Jeremy Minor? And you're like, no, Grant Cardone. Like you instantly, your reflex correct me. So I will intentionally choose one. A way that I did this last week, I was telling my team. So I can't tell you their name, but we, as you know, we're in Australia's largest sales event, and we're going to do another one again later this year, hopefully, if I can get the venue sorted. And I've got this A-lister celebrity that I'm looking to book. And I'm talking A-lister. Every single person watching right now will know who this is. And I'm speaking to another agent who has the information I need. I don't want to go through an agency because I'm going to have to pay more fees. I want to get straight to this A-lister, or at least to their executive assistant. So the agent says to me, well, who are you speaking to get quotes from? And I said, I've got this other company. And he says, oh, well, I actually know his EA. And so my reflex was, oh, Sarah. And he goes, no, Stephanie. I was like, perfect, Stephanie. so I can intentionally give you some information that's wrong. And if I do it in a reflex, they'll give me the reflex back. We can't stop it because we're correctors. That's called Cunningham's Law. So words matter, timing matters, and it's a skill.
My goodness.
I've never shared that on anything before. I've shared that at our boot camp, but I've never shared it on a podcast or interview before.
Well, you're on Monday Night Live now. You're bringing out the big guns. Who we got? Excuse me. Dropping in the chat here. We've got
Byron Bay in the house. Hey, Sylvia.
Hey, Sylvia. How are you? Brad, you're an introverted extrovert. Yeah, totally. Phil Jones, a similar book for real estate agents. People love correcting you. I love that. I've never heard that before. Never come across it. That's absolute gold. Beautiful. Hey, talk to me about the events. Have you guys always been doing them? I've only known, I feel like they've only just popped up on my radar in the last couple of years, but they're giving me 10x vibes, man. Is that intentional?
So I've been fighting this for many years. We've been doing events since 2015. Right at the beginning, and I say 2015, we had like 2 people or 3 people there, and we historically what we did was events for job seekers. So we do like a 2-day sales boot camp, which now is our 3-day flagship boot camp with 94 of them now. And then at the end of those 2 days, we help those people find work. So we were doing like train people to get jobs 10 years ago, and all these remote closers are doing it all now online. So we were doing them, and then even up until last year, we did the National Sales Conference, and that was supposed to be a small 100-person party for our 10th birthday, and escalated to 1,000 people. And we got to the end of it, and we had a lot of really well-known people come and speak there, and we got some great feedback. And we acknowledged at the end of that, we're an events company. We do put on good events, and it's taken me a while to admit that. And now we're really leaning into it. We're pretty fortunate. we're not an events company that has to drive revenue for our events, which is why we can do the free tour in June. We have our corporate arm. We've been training B2B since 2015, early 2016. So the majority of our revenue comes from that. So our events, why it might give you 10x vibes is because it's fun. It's hopefully genuinely valuable information without 8 hours of speakers just pitching at you and you running to the back of the room.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. There's such a big demand for that education and entertainment and inspiration all packed up into one. Have you been at any Tony Robbins events?
I have been to Tony Robbins, I always say that I'm not Tony Robbins, and I have no ambition to be. I'm an engineer and I'm a practical coach, so I'm not. The rah-rah's creeping in, but I probably stay at the back of the stage when the team do it.
Okay. He's looking for an event partner in Australia at the moment.
Is he?
So yeah. I don't think he offers a very good deal, to be honest. But, yeah.
I'm Harry Singer, who worked with Tony Robbins. He's a public speaking coach. He's my public speaking coach. I know for the costs involved with bringing Tony over. So I'll have a chat. I'm never going to close a collaboration opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he's getting old now, unfortunately. But I've been to heaps of his events, and they're fantastic. It's amazing that I always thought, like, it's absolutely amazing. This guy can just keep you energized from like 11 in the morning till 3 in the morning. Like,
it's unbelievable.
And you just want more. It's crazy.
I used to, full transparency, I used to hate all that. Like, and I'd be the one at the back of the room. Like, mate, can you just give me some training? Give me like the steps, the bullet points. And as a coach of now 10 years, I've realized I was letting some people down in the audience because I wasn't able to get them in the right state to learn. Yeah. And we all learn differently. So we've really lent into that in recent years. We had fireworks, Betty cannons and stuff going on. And then I went to 10X GrowthCon, 4 weeks ago. And that's another level again in America, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So when you're talking about being state dependent, are you talking about the prospect or the salesperson or both?
Everybody. Everybody. So if we take the prospect 100%, so there's lots of touch points and things that we can do before a sales conversation, before a Zoom, before an in-person, before coming to an event. There's lots of things that we do to get them in the right state before they even walk in the room. A lot of people are quite nervous and apprehensive about coming to these events. So we want to alleviate that. Otherwise, it might take them an hour before they kick in and go, oh, okay, I trust these guys. And I want them learning from the first second. And the same with sales teams is if you're not in the right state, then you're not going to be able to deliver in the right fashion. You're not going to be able to ask the right questions, right time, right tone, which means that you're not doing the prospect or the customer a service because you're not bringing the best version of you in that moment. So every single one of us is state dependent. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, if you do manage to fit in another event this year, I'd love to come along to it. Let me know. I will be
June the 6th. We're in Perth. June the 6th.
Yeah. The missus wants me in Bali for a birthday. Would you believe it?
You did say that. No, you did say that.
I said, but what about the sales conference?
We'll come to Bali. We're so close. Bali's 3 hours from you?
Yeah. Well, no, I can come to one of the other cities. Like I travel over east once a month now. So.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So either that or I'd like to come to one of them.
Yeah, I'll share. We can talk about the dates afterwards. But we're doing Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth. So I'm sure we can get.
Yeah, cool. One. All right, let's start with. I got a list of dudes I want to hear your thoughts on. So, Richard Branson. What was? You mentioned that you had a conversation with him that changed everything. Was it? Did you go in there with a question in mind that you wanted to ask him? Was that? Or was it something you unexpected?
Not really. I mean, I had a lot of imposter syndrome going there. I was the only one out of 40 from Australia to go. And I actually did a bit of work with a guy called Nam Baldwin. If anybody hasn't heard of Nam, please look him up. He's he's phenomenal. He's a breathwork and a mindset coach for Australian Olympians. And he said something to me that really hit me. He said, don't spend the first 4 days of 5 figuring out you belong there. And that was really important to me. So I wanted to, I like being in control, and I often do make a plan for everything. But he was really encouraging me to, as he called it, riff and just freestyle and just go and be. So I did that. There was a moment, like every day we had panels where there was training going on, and I did ask Richard a question about ethical selling and training sales for kids and in schools, of which he was a big advocate from. But the main moment happened when we were on a little golf buggy together. And as I jumped off, he turned to me and he just said, Ryan, don't forget to be playful. And I don't know what it was in that moment. Like, my instinct was, this guy thinks I'm uptight. And I probably was, to be fair. And it was a really important lesson, because I think I've been in business at the time 9 years. We're 10 years old now, and you kind of get on the treadmill, and you forget to kind of take a step back from time to time. And if there's one thing that Sir Richard's done, is he's been playful throughout his whole business and his entrepreneurial journey. And then he also lent into so it wasn't my question, but it was somebody else at one of the little panel questions. It was about how you choose which direction to take your business in. And he said, what gets the greatest results for your clients? There you go.
Can you see that? Can you see that?
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Hey,
what gets the greatest results for you?
I came prepared. Sorry, go on.
You did come prepared. I like that. I was like, I thought he was on live now. I'm going to talk to him. He said, what gets the greatest results for your clients, and what gives you the most fulfillment? And that was a really important question, because what it did was mean we'd already started auditing the results of our clients over the last few years. And we realized the best results by far for our clients were on our 3-day boot camp. And because we get results there and then, like they make sales, and then in what we call our legacy program. And it was like, what is it so key about those particular programs? And I realized it was content that I controlled. So I wasn't at the mercy of the corporates, where you go to like an Amex or a National Storage or whatever, and they pay you decent money, and then they tell you what they want you to coach. Bearing in mind, they don't know what they need, they know what they want. So, but we were jumping and we were doing what they wanted. So it wasn't fulfilling, it was hard. I was flying around the country for many years and beyond, delivering what I knew they didn't need, but just to appease this big conglomerate. Whereas the boot camp and the legacy, I know what works. We've coached 21,500 now. I know the order of which things need to be worked to get you in the right state. So I came back and I'm like, guys, we're changing the whole model. And we did. And I also wrote, I didn't even speak to the team. I walked in, I changed the number for the event to 1,000 people. And they were like, what are you doing? I said, October, we're having 1,000 people at the conference. And didn't know how we were going to get there, but we did. So yeah, Richard, I'm getting don't forget to be playful as a tattoo. Because
nice.
One of those.
Yeah, that's special. I think that's something that I definitely need to remind myself to do as well. That's so powerful. So do you still do the B2B stuff?
So yeah, we still do. So our best performing clients are the ones where we have a hybrid of, we take the sales leader or the business owner, and we take them on that legacy program, which is sales capability, build out your sales process. There's a leadership component and a health and wellness component, because I realized mental health issues are quite rife in business after 10 years. And we weren't really touching on it. So we take them, and then we also plug their teams into on-demand training, which gives them 3 live coaching sessions a week. So that hybrid where we get the voice on the ground, not me, but like almost to train the trainer, for want of a better phrase, the results are not even close. So yeah, we still do.
Wow, wicked. That's amazing, man. That's so awesome. I mean, it's funny how like that one line has just had such a big impact on the way you do things. That's really, really awesome. What about Grant Cardone? What's the biggest thing you learned from him?
So these two messages kind of go hand in hand, because it was on the same trip that I spent 5 hours at 10X HQ, as they call it, in Miami. And it was actually a conversation with Jared, the VP. And we basically whiteboarded a few things. We were sitting chatting away, and then he goes, "You're making all the same mistakes Grant made." And I'm like, "What? What's the mistakes?" And I'll talk about it openly, because it's the reality is that we charge $30,000 to train a team. The business owner or sales manager is reluctant to invest $30,000 into a potentially transient team where people are coming and going all the time in a sales role, but they will invest $30,000 in themselves. So he said, this is that they train teams and they train managers. He said, when they took the teams and they moved that back and they pushed the manager forward and they said, we now coach sales leaders, business owners, and entrepreneurs. That's $100,000, $200,000. They'll pay that, and then you plug the team in afterwards. And that was the change. And so now our focus is to get the sales leader or the business owner, because they're the ones truly committed to the business. We can train the team as well. We've got 254 hours worth of online resources and live coaching. So we can do that, but that's not the focus. The focus is the leadership team. That's how we can create really sustainable change. So I guess what Grant did for me was make all the mistakes ahead. I mean, it still took me 10 years to get there, but I like Grant. I think you interviewed him. I think we interviewed him in the same hotel, didn't we, in Brisbane back in the day?
No, I was in Sydney. He rented an Airbnb, and he just had a bunch of us podcasters coming and going.
Oh, were you in Sydney? Okay, yeah. So Kim Barrett, I saw in.
That's right. Yep.
That's where I met him. But yeah, I like Grant and Elena. I spent a bit of time with them, and I've got some of their team. And I think he's got some controversial things to say. I think he's moving more into politics these days, but he's made an impact. Sure.
I was so surprised how lovely he was, and is like, not to say doesn't seem like a nice chap, but he was really nice off camera. Like, really made a big effort, and Elena even more so. Like, their family just seemed amazing, which is interesting. But then when you get on camera, then it's like, dude, you got to get a jet, and like, he's all the controversy, and it's like animated. But
he's a marketer, isn't he? He knows how to. And because I would agree exactly as you just said. We were in there for like 2 hours with him, and there would have been an hour of interview and then an hour just having a bit of a yarn, me and my ex-wife and him, Elena. And really, really nice, talking about the kids. It felt anyway genuine. He was trying to find out about my newborn at the time. But then on camera and on socials, that guy knows how to get attention.
Yes. I asked him, I said, explain what I was doing and how LinkedIn was like, there wasn't much competition. And I said, how do I get to the next level? And he said, dude, you got to get more haters. You need to have a bigger opinion on stuff. He says, you're too safe. You're like agreeing with me, everything I'm saying.
I struggle with this. And I can see how you might be the same as well, because we're not. I don't like friction. I don't like controversy. And I've been told this by many PR people that I need to start disagreeing with people. And even when you said that, I've been told this, and because you said, I'm going to ask you about some people now. And I thought you were going to ask me to you still might, to talk about some of the sales coaches out there. And it's just, I'm not wired to really abuse people. I think there's a big enough pie out there. My way is not the only way. Some people hate the way I dress, and maybe they won't like the way I teach and what we teach. That's cool. That's why I partner with Daniel G, Grant, Jeremy Minor. Like there's plenty of different ways to do things.
Yeah. He said to me, you got to go interview people you disagree with. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I haven't actually done it. Now that I say it out loud, I had a look around, but I was like, oh, he seems all right.
Well, I did. So I did something quite polarizing, or what would be polarizing, in 2020, just before lockdown. I was MC for Jordan Belfort, which totally goes against our whole thing of selling with integrity and selling honestly. And we did get backlash from it, and we had backlash internally here. Some of my team didn't want me to do it. But for me, it was Sydney and Melbourne 2 days in a row. There was 1,100 people in each room, and I was MC. And the way I looked at it was, there was 1,100 people. If they've invested, some of the tickets were like 2 or 3 grand. If you've
Yeah.
invested 3 grand to come and learn how to sell from this guy, I need to be in front of this audience because I can hopefully elegantly show you a different way. And I wasn't allowed to say that I was a sales coach. I wasn't allowed to mention my sales company because I was a competitor, obviously. But we did very well out of that. And I'm glad I did it. And it did give me an insight into what Jordan's like behind the scenes. And if you compare Jordan and Grant, I'm going to put Grant up here all day long.
Yeah. I think that takes a lot of courage. I mean, you're actually making a difference and doing something to help these people. So good on you.
I hope so.
Yeah. What about so you had 3 Shark Tank investors, didn't you? Are they all still involved? Steve, Andrew, and Glenn?
They're all still with us. Yeah. So 2018,
Brilliant.
that was. Yeah.
And have they been pretty supportive about all these big changes that you've been making?
But do you know what? They've been fantastic. I mean, they're obviously not in the office based with us on a day-to-day basis, but on a personal and professional level, if I ever need anything, I know I could pick up the phone, and there's something quite cathartic about that and reassuring. Like we've gone through a founder exit as well. So Jack, the co-founder, exited. There he is. He exited in 2020. So so Jack exited in Jan 2020. I exit the real estate business. So we basically took a business each is the best way to look at it. And then all of a sudden COVID hits and we're in lockdown and I'm running a team by myself, for want of a better phrase. And they were great through that whole transition. Like I didn't know how to go for a founder exit. I didn't know how to run a team for a pandemic. And so I lent on them quite a lot. And they speak at our events. So yeah, they've been brilliant. I'd never say anything negative about them at all.
If you did the Shark Tank pitch again today, what would you do differently?
Oh, that's a question I've never been asked. That's a really good question. I'd value the business up because we undervalued it. We undervalued it massively, and we did it intentionally because we just wanted to get something. I mean, I never wanted to go on. I think you know that. That was Jack's fault. He applied and told me afterwards. But yeah, I think we'd value it better for a start. And then it probably wouldn't be the pitch. It would be afterwards. I would have leveraged the wisdom that those guys had a lot sooner, I think, especially on my part. Jack's a lot more confident than I was. I was happy to be behind the scenes. And I never wanted to call them, didn't want to email them, didn't want to annoy them or hassle them. And I don't think I leveraged their wisdom and their knowledge enough in the early days, which I would have definitely done if I was to start again. Yeah,
that makes perfect sense. What's your thoughts on? I'm conscious of your time. I've got to ask you about AI. I'm getting some really good sales calls from people. Well, not people. I'm getting some really good sales calls at the moment from robots, from AI agents, and as the position that I'm in, what happens is normally, like with software, mainly software and things like that, technology that's got something to do with the B2B market or marketing, I'll get approached for them to sponsor content, which means I've obviously got to invest some time learning about it, and then I've got to give my audience some advice on it and stuff. And one of the biggest ones I'm getting approached by at the moment is AI agents companies. I've been very reluctant to invest any time looking into it. Have you tried it? What are your thoughts on it? What's your swish approach to AI agents as they evolve?
Good timing, because my team will tell you I'm right down the rabbit hole and won't stop talking about every new fancy thing that I keep finding. So probably good to preface this with I got my first computer at the age 30, so I'm not technologically advanced, that's for sure. But I absolutely love it. And I think it's happening. We can hate it or we can embrace it. So at the moment, we're in late discussions with an organization up in Brisbane to create twins for every single staff member. So ultimately, we can twin and clone every single one of our team and all of the IP and all of the knowledge they've got for the price of one staff member for the year. And that includes creating me 24/7, 365 as a coach for our clients. So I think there has to be a level of transparency with your customers to say that this is what it is. And and like my customer experience team, they look after our members, but they can't speak to everybody 24/7, 365. Not 100% the voice of me, but this technology it's better than me. It's funnier than me. Like it's better looking than me. I want that available for everybody 24/7, so that they don't have to be waiting on me. We've got clients all around the world, so I think in that respect, it's really, really good. And then what I think it will inadvertently do is really put a premium on in-person human being meetings, appointments, and definitely for events. People are going to crave it.
That's very true, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
So I'm really doubling down at the minute on events, stage presence, speaking. I've invested a significant amount of time and money already into that, but I think people will. Somebody wrote it in here, Sylvia. Authenticity sells. I agree, and I think people are going to crave humans in a world of AI. So from my perspective, it's like, where can we plug the human in? And it doesn't have to be a premium on it, but I think it will just naturally happen that people are going to get paid more.
And you mentioned transparency. It's interesting because like a couple of the companies I've spoken to, I said, well, you know, if this AI agent is trained by me and they're calling people up, who does he say he is? And he goes, well, you can either pretend he's you or you can just make up some name. And I was like, hang on a second.
They've just rolled that out in the States. You can't do that in the States now. It's already been done. You have to.
That was their two go-to answers. Like that's obviously what most people are doing.
Is that in Australia? That's an Australian company? Yeah. So
I think it was. Yeah.
We always follow the States. And last year when I was over in the States, I did this course, and they were playing recordings of AI bots versus human bots, and we had to guess which was which, and you couldn't tell the difference. Like it's that advanced over there. But now, since then, they've brought in laws that if you are using an AI bot to do outbound calling, you have to tell people as soon as they pick up that this is a bot. So it could go one of two ways.
I think it'll work well at the moment because it's a novelty. It's still a novelty, right? Like if I got a call from Ryan Tuckwood's AI agent, I'd probably be on the phone to him for 45 minutes.
Now he'd close the deal quicker than that.
Yeah, classic. All right. Well, so is that how you would phrase it? Would it be Ryan's AI agent or?
Yeah, I get a Swish AI agent. Yeah, I mean so the reality is, I mean, we've got them already. We've got like the automated bots, and you've got a database of Swish knowledge and Swish wisdom. Everything that I've ever said, it's somewhere in Google Drive or Dropbox, and all we're doing is just accessing it in seconds and putting my voice over the top of it.
Yeah.
So
yes,
at the minute, I mean, if somebody rings up and says, "Hey, I'm struggling with the objection XYZ," my customer success team will know what advice to give them, but it's advice that's come from me that I've taught them. So it's the same. It just means they're going to get the information instantly, and they're going to hear it in the tone that I would deliver it in as well. So
yeah,
there are benefits to giving people what they want as quickly as possible.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think transparency is very important. I've got a couple of questions I've got to ask you. So with the events, what do you find is most effective for marketing?
So I don't like marketers. I've got PTSD. 10 years, and I've still not found a marketing company that can fill an event for me, or even just generate consistent. Hence why we've got the cold calling team. So I think two parts. I think firstly, a strong brand in the first place, which I know you're a big advocate of. And I resisted this in the early years. You won't see anything of me from 2014 to 2017. I was never on camera. I wasn't on socials. And then it wasn't until we had a lady called Courtney come on, and she said, people buy people, they don't buy companies. Yeah. And she really started to enforce Jack and I to push our personal brands, which over the last few years I've really taken on. And the majority of my leads, I would say 80% of the inbound inquiries that we get will come from my personal LinkedIn, specifically LinkedIn as well.
Wow.
So
there you go.
Yeah, this is a good lead source for me. But because hopefully we put out valuable content. So you would have read Jab, 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 Right Hook as well.
Yes.
Gary V, that's my original. So I do buy into that. I think it's jab, 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 right hook these days. But,
Yes. Agreed.
so putting out as much valuable content as possible earns you the right, permission-based selling, to then go back in and say, hey, we're doing this event. But it's not going to stop me engaging a marketing company, but I don't assume they're going to work for me. I 330,000 cold calls. I know how to beat a gatekeeper, get my foot in the door, and teach other people to do the same thing. So we'll do that.
Wicked. Yeah. So you're prospecting. That's exactly what the way I would do it. I've found events can be great on LinkedIn. You got to market them the right way though, and it's got to be a good event.
Yeah, we haven't done the LinkedIn event just yet. We only announced it last Tuesday. Yeah, last Tuesday, I think they started calling. So we're 5. This is the 5th day. We're over 300 tickets done across all 4. So we'll do LinkedIn events. We'll do Facebook events, and we'll put all the stuff up. But as a marketing agency, it's just pain in my life.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. God, I assume you had marketing people in house running different campaigns on different platforms and stuff.
We have marketing people, but they are not professional events guys.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, gotcha. So one of the things, because I used to run a lot of events particularly in Melbourne, and I moved back to Perth just before COVID. I probably had a year and a half here before COVID, and I was running events here as well. And they were going all right actually. But anyway, one of the limiting beliefs that I have is I can't organize a huge national event being in Perth.
Yes.
Did you have that living in the Gold Coast?
You can organize a huge national event wherever you want. That's my opinion. That's the most controversial thing I'll say today.
Did you have to overcome that though? Did you think to yourself, we're in the Gold Coast?
Yeah, I still get it. We're still fighting it. Even today, we had this conversation. So people said, why are you doing the national sales conference in the Gold Coast? Why are you not taking it to
everyone,
Sydney?
it's a great place to visit. Yeah, why not?
It's 91%, 91, 96, 91, I think, % of our attendees come from interstate or overseas. So people love coming to the Gold Coast. The majority of our Australian-based clients are in Sydney and Melbourne, but people love to come here. But the challenge is the venues. So even trying to book October, November, why I'm struggling with it is because the Gold Coast Convention Centre was booked out for the dates that I wanted. So I wanted 3,000 people. The next down was Royal Pines that could do 1,600. And now the dates I'm really struggling with to get the speaker that I want on the day that I want. It's so hard. You're kind of at the mercy of the speakers when you try and go to this level. So then I'm like, do we move to Brisbane? I'm so proudly Gold Coast. Like, this place set me up in Australia, and I want to give back, but maybe I'm being a bit naive at some stage and need to just go to a bigger city. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if you got the right speaker, why not do it in Sydney or something?
If the speaker comes, I'll do whatever they want me to do because they'll sell out 4,000 or 5,000 people easy.
Okay. All right. I've already thrown Tony at you. I can't think of another. I'll
take Tony. Yeah.
What did you call it? I've got all my notes here. We'll be studying all this. I was going to throw another name out and see if that was the right speaker.
Just throw me any. We'll get in touch with somebody.
Yeah. Okay. Look, we've got a few more minutes before we wrap up. I just see this comment from Amber. Amber, by the way. Amber, what I'll do, I'll comment on this afterwards, and I'll tag you the guy that I'm dealing with up in Brisbane. That's I see.
Building the twins.
The AI stuff. Yeah, gotcha. Hey, just wanted to ask you with your public speaking, obviously, saying that you come across, you explained that you sort of had imposter syndrome and you didn't like pushing yourself as a personal brand. What's helped you along the way to become a good public speaker? Has there been like a standout coach that you've worked with, or other than just practice? What's been really helpful on that journey?
Harry Singer. Harry Singer has been my public speaking coach. He works, as I say, with Tony Robbins, Kiyosaki, Richard Branson, politicians all around the world. And he really got me to see a couple of things. Firstly, it's not about, no one's got a fear of public speaking. They've got a fear of public shaming. And that's what I was avoiding, an emotion. And the emotion that I was avoiding was embarrassment and shame. And I remember saying to him, well, what if I go wrong? What if I forget my lines? What if I trip over? And he just said, I'm hearing a lot of eyes. And he said, it's not about you, it's about the audience. So like really reframing me. I know, again, easier said than done, but reframing me to consciously think, even coming onto this tonight, like who might be on here? Who's going to be sitting here at 7 o'clock at night on a Monday night when they've got kids, potentially got kids, they've got businesses to run, it could be anywhere. I owe it to them to bring the best version of me. It doesn't matter if I mess up from time. I'm going to forget things, right? It's not about me.
Yeah.
So that was important. And then the second part was, I think Harry read me quite well. I am an engineer. I'm very process driven. And he just gave me the literals, as in when I walk out on stage, what is the beat of the song that I walk out on? Where do I plant my left foot and my right foot when I get to the center of the stage? What are the first words out of my mouth on stage? And what are the last words out of my mouth off stage? And once that kind of clicked, I realized that it is just a process, just like sales. And if it can be learned, if it's a process, it can be learned. And then, it kind of fell into place. I did invest a lot of money, but it was worth it.
Well, yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. And I still feel like I've got a long way to go, but it's like the amount of trial and error, go through I did my first keynote at a business conference when I was 17. I just turned 40. I could have learned all this in like a year if I had the right coach.
so this is, and this is important, right? It's about having the right coach and then like investing and realizing it's not an expense, it is an investment. I've got two boys, they're 6 and 4, and they have all of my introvert tendencies that I had, and I could see it in them. And I'm coaching them. I'm teaching them I'm teaching Maverick how to talk on a football pitch, how to do a show and tell at school, how to command the room and ask questions of an audience. And we didn't get taught any of this stuff at school. Yes. So 27 years old, I come over here. I'm not timid and shy, but I'm not extroverted and I don't want to stand on the stage. And even in 2017 was the first open gig where I was actually going to go and talk, and 3 people turned up and I bottled it. And then where are we now? November last year, 4,000 people in Auckland for David Goggins. Like it's
incredible.
It's a skill. It genuinely is a skill. And I'll argue with anybody, they can all do it, just like sales. Brilliant.
Hey, last question. What would you like your boys to say about you as a man when they're older?
So we actually have this conversation a fair bit, not in those words, but especially Maverick, he's very interested in money, rightly or wrongly. And he wants to practice selling things. He likes selling.
Wow.
And
how cool.
So we talk about how do you make money, and is money good? Is it bad? How can we use it for the right reasons and the right motivator? And the answer, I think, if you were to bring them on here somehow and say, what does daddy do for work? They would say he works hard and he helps people. And that if they say that about me and that's their association with how do I make money, I work hard and I help people, then I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good answer. Thanks everybody for dropping in the chat and sharing your feedback. What's one daily practice or skill you'd recommend to get better faster? Well, I'll let you handle that one, Ryan.
Do the reps. Like, the worst thing people can say to me, the worst thing is, it's all right for you. It just rolls off your tongue. 330,000 cold calls later, it rolls off my tongue. I could have, like you said about public speaking, you could have condensed that down into a year. And we have beginners that come and do some of our training, and within hours of doing the training, they're able to make sales from cold, from green, like never done before. So you've got to do the reps if you really want to master anything.
Yeah. I mean, there's that time in Hong Kong when I had to do 100 calls a day. I was a leasing agent, so it wasn't just 100 calls. You're also running around Hong Kong, going up because I was doing the cheap properties, right? I was starting at the bottom, So they're all walk-ups. So I'm running up and down in my suit and making all these phone calls, and it was a nightmare. I wasn't making enough to get by. I did that for about a year and a half. But now, if I have to pick up the phone 5 times in a day, it's like, it's just easy, right? Because you're used to doing those reps. So I think sometimes it's good to start at something a bit difficult. I mean, that was borderline like abusive behavior in the workplace.
And there's also, to give something really practical, there's also doing the right reps, because you can do lots and lots of the wrong thing. And if Adain, I don't know if you're in sales, but one thing that every single person watching this could go away do right now, if they are in a sales type role, is just self-audit the order of which they're asking questions. So
Absolutely.
we have something called a 10-step negotiation ladder. Stage 4 of that is the discovery phase. And in the discovery stage, there's 5 types of questions, and they should go past, present, future, cost of inaction, partnership. So I say that again. So the first questions that we should ask of a prospect is into the past. So what have they done before? What have they tried before? Firstly, it reduces your chances of patronizing them or being condescending, because you don't know any of their experience. So what have you done before? Where are you at right now? Where do you want to be in the future? That creates a gap. What most people do is start in the future. So what are you looking for? How can I help? I want more time. I want more money. I want more conversions. And you're just in the future. There's no gap. So we got to go past, present, future. And then stage 4 of that is cost of inaction. And this is really where urgency is created. So your ability to sit in the pocket and ask them, what are the ramifications of not doing? What happens if you don't choose the right provider? What if you don't make a decision? And then the final one is partnership, where you're asking them, so how are you choosing a provider of XYZ? Because there's 2 to 3 other really respectable organizations in the sales training space in Australia. So how are you choosing which one you're going to go with? Not why would you choose us, which is what's commonly asked. I'm basically sitting on the same side of the table as them, looking at all the options. So self-audit, past, present, future, cost of inaction, partnership. I don't care what questions you're asking, as long as they're in the right order.
So powerful. Wow. You've given us so much gold. Thank you so much for your time, Ryan. I know it's late there. Thanks everyone for tuning in to Monday Night Live. I have posted the next couple of weeks events on my personal LinkedIn profile, so make sure you check those out. I hope to see you here next week. And Ryan, thanks again, mate. You've really dropped. I've got 4 pages of notes here, and I've got in big capital letters. Make sure you go to the next conference. So
yes, I'll see you there.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.